NewGenGamers.com.
Hello everyone, welcome to a New Gen Gamers documentary. We are doing Console Wars of the Past Part 1. This was the early war between Intellivision and Atari 2600 and ColecoVision. Here we have the most popular of all the consoles, the Atari 2600. This was the Darth Vader version of the console released in 1982. See, it has that Atari 2600 logo on there. But earlier models were called the VCS. Now it still says VCS on the top there, as you can see. And we've got 4 switches, 1 power, 1 TV type. We've got game select and game reset over here. Now here's our trusty cartridge slot. Now on the back of the console, you will see, get around there, this is your controller port. I never did understand why they put the controller ports in the back of the console. That was never really intuitive. Your difficulty selections for both players. You have your power cord, which plugs in here, and here's the TV select channel 3 or 4. Now this ran off of an analog signal, so it basically plugged into antenna, and you had to use a converter box to hook it up to cable-ready TVs, which we had a little bit of difficulty getting to work on our setup here, since we're running things that are a little more high-tech. Getting something of this age to run on that system was a little tough. Now here's how the cartridges go in. Just kind of pop right in there, and then there we go. This was, as I said, the 1982 model. The Atari originally came out in 1977, and there were wood grain models and many that would follow after that, like the Atari 2600 Junior, which came out during the NES era as kind of a budget console. Now, as you see, there are plenty of these wonderful games here, including the 2 that were pretty much responsible for killing the video game market right here. And we're going to tear through some of these and give you our take on what this console's impact was to the gaming world. So check out the continuing parts of this. I will name them Console Wars of the Past Part 1, Volume 1 or 2. Just however we're going to word that. So check it out. And that concludes my little console overview. So let's hook this puppy up and get to gaming. Oh yes, I forgot to show off the wonderful controllers. Sorry about that. These were the input devices for the Atari. They are pretty much square. You held them in your hand and either controlled it like this or full hand like this. Some people, it just depended on your playing style and how you like to use the controllers. Now there were paddle controllers for it, but unfortunately we have yet to acquire those, so we'll have to try and find some. They didn't come with my legacy system. So check it out and enjoy the rest of this little walk through the Atari 2600 years. Ah! Okay, everyone. Welcome to the continuing part of the Console Wars of the Past Part 1, where we're covering the Atari 2600. And right now we are playing through one of the first games released for the Atari 2600, Combat. It's essentially a tank game.
This game was packed in with the Atari 2600 too, right?
I believe so. This was the one that they wanted to push with the console because it had two-player gameplay and was a relatively simple yet fun game. And they really didn't have much to start with when it first came out in '77. They only had about 9 games. A lot of them being like Pong and Asteroids. You know, they're arcade games. And people were truthfully pretty sick of Pong at that point. So they tried to push this tank game, which kind of used the same mechanics, but yet still added a new realm of gameplay. Now this cartridge was interesting because not only does it have this little tank game on it, it also has many other different games, like an air-sea battle, just a lot of different military-type games, basically. I like how the bullets kind of take a JFK turn there.
Yeah.
They're magic bullets. Now, since the screen is blinking, it's time to run away. Ah! Oh, okay, 8-6. Now, what you do here is you should be able to go to the game select. There we go. 4. Now it gives you different options. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14. There's the planes. You have longer planes, shorter planes, then you have jets. That's back to the tanks. So let's give it a little quick run through and see what the air battle has in store for us.
This could get intense.
Which one am I?
Orange.
Oh, crap. That would explain why I wasn't doing what I was thinking I was doing.
This adds a little bit of trickery with the clouds there.
Yeah, you don't really know what's going on.
Just like in a real dogfight.
I used to play this game a lot when I was a kid. Controls are a little whacked.
The top of the screen messes you up.
Again, these airplanes kind of control like tanks, so...
Yeah, they really do. But you know, this game holds up. It's still pretty fun now. Not something that I would look to do on a Saturday night, but you know, if you got a couple minutes and you want a little competitive gameplay, there's certainly nothing wrong with a little combat.
Yeah, combat really was the best game for the system for at least 2 years. By the time a good game that could compete with this came out, it was Space Invaders, which was the first real good port of an arcade game to the 2600 that wasn't, you know, originally made by Atari. So that's when we actually started to see the boom of the system, was in 1980 when Space Invaders was released on it. I am getting my ass torn up here. Once we went free motion, you started tearing me up.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. This playing game, combat, I don't know. I think it's part of the fact that I'm left-handed. I was having trouble moving the combat tank with my right hand, but these are a little bit smoother because it's just up or down. But these joysticks are just so hard to hold.
Yeah, it kind of depends on...
Are we done? What happened there?
Well, once it starts flashing, it goes to that screen. Combat was also known for, you know, having a really short game, but it was quick and fun.
Yeah.
Now, let me pop in the next big hit in the Atari's library, Space Invaders. Quick enough.
From Taito.
So here is Space Invaders. Simple enough. Shoot the aliens.
You are the big butt plug at the bottom.
Rather simple gameplay, but people ate this one up. This was a huge hit, and before Space Invaders, there really wasn't much to offer.
Yeah, there wasn't much in the way of standout games.
Everything was pretty much either sports related or basically shoot whatever's in front of you. I mean, that's essentially what this is, but it gives you a little bit of extra challenge, and see how they're picking up speed here.
Yeah, there's different strategies you can use. The game's not going to play out the same way every time because, you know, there's randomness involved with the enemies attacking, and you can use different tactics to try and hide behind the platforms.
Apparently I suck at Space Invaders.
Space Invaders is rough.
I mean, I haven't played this game in a good 10, 15 years.
That's no excuse.
I mean, it is rather simple gameplay.
It's still tough. I mean, you know, these first couple of levels aren't bad, but once they start going faster, it gets pretty ridiculous.
Wipe out that bottom row before they eat my cities. Well, like, me being weaned on Galaga and Galaxian, and like, Space Invaders should be simple. Should be. Oh, and you want to shoot the little spaceship at the top if you can. Like that. Well, that was luck.
Get those bonus points. That's what it's all about. Oh.
Oh, you dirty little... Well, needless to say, Space Invaders was a big hit for Atari, and really kind of pushed them into their golden age, where you started to see more awesome games come out of them.
And another little side note, this is by Taito, who is now owned by Square Enix, which I think is kind of a shame because Taito always had some interesting titles, and I'm afraid that we're probably never going to see any more of those games from them. So, you know, look back to this classic, but you won't probably see any more Taito games.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I'm going to switch over to Missile Command, another hit from Atari. Now, Missile Command's a rather simple game. The idea here is just stop the missiles with your free-floating cursor here from hitting your cities down below. And you kind of have to hit near the top of the missiles.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have to kind of angle your shot.
And this was a fairly intuitive, innovative game at the time.
Yeah, it's kind of like Space Invaders, but, you know, it's kind of the same concept, but they changed it enough that it's really a different title and really plays well. Again, much like Space Invaders, you have the impending doom coming down upon you, and you've got to stop it before it gets to you.
Atari had a lot of impending doom titles.
They really did. I don't know, I guess it was the 80s, you know, there was Cold War stuff going on.
These must be Russian missiles.
I guess.
Ha! I saved Boston again.
Yeah, every other Atari title featured some sort of space doom coming towards you.
Like even Asteroids, there really wasn't much to the game except you had to survive.
Space doom.
Yeah. Tons of space doom. We see a lot of that today still.
It's a lack of creativity.
Maybe that's it.
We'll call them out. That's what it is.
Well, in the early days, I guess it was creative. I mean, the first game ever was Space War. So, well, computer space, as they called it, because there really wasn't any action or shooting of anything. You just kind of flew around in this dark void.
We got to get our hands on that.
Yeah, that was a...
If we can...
That was an action-packed title.
If we can get an original copy of... What was it?
Computer Space was actually run only on computers at MIT.
Yeah, we're going to get one of those.
Yeah, I guess we could nowadays. It'd probably be
We could
a
probably
junk pile computer
we
at
could
this point.
probably live inside of that thing.
Yeah. We could probably run that game on our cell phones, too.
On a calculator, but you know, it just shows you where things have come. This was a huge step up from that.
Oh, crap.
And you know,
And
they're getting
it's
ya.
all going
The
to hell
Russians are
now.
getting ya. The terrorists have won.
No, they weren't terrorists back then. They were Russians. Get it right. I still have 4 cities left. I'm fine. Yeah, and the game goes on and on, you know, ad nauseum, because that's how games were back then. I mean, it's a great game, but again, nowadays you'll probably spend about 15, 20 minutes on it.
And this was another one of Atari's titles, and I imagine this was probably kind of their answer to Space Invaders and the success that it had. You know.
Oh, Atari made lots of bank off of this game. This was a huge hit for them.
You know, they probably saw the success of Space Invaders.
Oh, there goes my last one.
And wanted to get something similar out, and not a bad game. Still holds up pretty well.
Yeah, it's still fun to play. So, Atari had a lot of good games that they produced, mainly because they weren't allowing anyone to produce them until Activision kind of forced their hand on that one.
And that's one way to do it.
I mean, you're going to see a lot of these titles that only came from Atari. Namely games like this, Haunted House. I mean, this one came straight from Atari. No one else was working on it. Let me check the copyright on that real quick. Yep, 81. It was right after Activision, so they had to get a little creative because of the, you know, Activision pumping games out. Alright, now here you are a set of eyes. You are to find the mysterious urn. Now you have unlimited matches, but when you light the matches, you'll find baddies, and you want to avoid the baddies.
Now, for anyone who may have seen our previous look at this game, you can check it out if you look up Ray's Retro Review Haunted House. We didn't know how to play the game, and we didn't spend the time to actually look how to play the game, and got a lot of shit for it. So we have actually studied the manual. We looked up the classic 1981 manual.
Oh, cool.
Just so that we could succeed at this game and not be called out by the internet community.
I had the whole urn and the ghost got me.
And we almost had it.
Well, actually, now I just have to find the front of the mansion.
But the goal of this game is to collect the pieces of the urn.
I'm on the 4th floor.
And travel through the level.
There's an actual map to this, but isn't that cheating?
That would be cheating.
Oh, that's the scepter you want to grab if you don't have the urn. We got the full urn, so we don't want to lose it.
We got the full backstory on this game. We've spent hours.
Yeah, we actually went and researched this game. I mean, it is a fun title for, you know, what it's... Did I just switch that? No. I don't want the scepter. I want the urn.
I still don't think it's that great, but I mean, for 1981, sure.
It was the earliest survival horror game.
There you go.
I gotta give it some credit on that one.
There you go. It spawned the Resident Evils and Silent Hills of today. Or something.
I cannot fault it for that.
Not quite sure what you are there. Are you a human or what's going on?
You're a person. It's just the eyes are pretty much all you can see. Now, I'm not... Like I said, I'm not going to be looking at a map here because that's cheating.
That's right. Ray spent the time to learn how to play this game.
So I'm actually going to play it, and just like you would if you owned it on day one. Oh, crap. Keep going upstairs. I want to go downstairs.
Just like everyone who plays this game sits down and reads the manual before they play it.
Well, unfortunately, we weren't privy to a manual because we got it 20 years afterwards. But we did find one on the internet, thank God.
Well, you know, you should have been born then, Ray.
I was born then. Unfortunately, I was in the womb.
Yeah, I suppose you were.
Yeah, it was slightly born at that time.
I was just an egg at the time.
Ooh!
What is this?
I think we did it.
Oh my God.
We succeeded.
Let it never be said that Ray can't play Haunted House.
Thank you. We beat Haunted House.
Take that, haters.
That was awesome.
And so there's Haunted House, and that was a very rewarding, satisfying moment for us.
That was fun.
And what else do we got here, Ray?
Well, let's pop in something else. This one's actually one of my personal favorites. It's from the Atari Sports line, and it's a really fun game. See on my part? Yeah, this is bowling. Did you want to play too, Ron?
I'll just watch.
Okay. I mean, this is pretty basic stuff. It's just bowling, but it's got a replay value to it. I really loved this game when I was a kid.
Well, I think that you can move the ball around after you throw it. Gives it a little extra.
They added English to it, so you could add it as you go on.
Yeah, so it makes it a little more arcadey and a little bit more fun.
Now it's not. We've become accustomed to more advanced bowling titles. Nowadays, mainly due to the emergence of the Wii Sports package, where now it actually feels like you're throwing a bowling ball. It's fun. But truthfully, not many people attempted bowling. Like, not many companies that I remember throughout the years attempted bowling.
Nah, there was a couple that would use the Pro Bowling Circuit license, but they mostly blew pretty hard.
And there were some crappy, licensed bowling games, like Flintstones Bowling. I think that was on PS1.
Super Monkey Ball had a fun bowling mini game. That was pretty decent, but there hasn't been a whole lot of good takes on the bowling genre. I guess because the sport sucks in real life. But,
bowling's fun. I mean,
it's fun among friends, but it's not something, no one watches pro bowling.
Right. It's not good as a professional sport. It's more of like
50-year-old drunk guys like my grandpa.
It's a social activity is what it is.
Yeah.
It's better suited for alleys and I guess virtual bowling alleys at this point. Because there are Wii bowling leagues. Surprising.
That
doesn't surprise you that much.
No, that infuriates me, but I'll let it pass. So, this was where it all started.
It was fun.
It was fun. It was bowling. That was it. Nothing fancy.
And
just bowling.
And the thing, Atari really had a huge sports lineup.
They did. All their sports games were pretty fun. Well, I don't know about all of them, but a lot of them were fun. Boxing I liked a lot. It reminded me of the Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Yeah, it's kind of what it was, too. It's very reminiscent of that. And they had a decent football game, which couldn't be topped for quite a few years until Tecmo made the first decent football game, in my opinion.
Yeah, NES play-action football wasn't bad, but I'm not sure which was first.
NES Play Action came before Tecmo, but Tecmo was better. Well,
so there it is. There's bowling.
Now we're going to trot off into a different direction here with another Atari game. It was kind of their take on the rest of what was going on at the time. I mean, pinball was still big.
Yes, before there were video games, there was pinball. And then when there was video games, there was video pinball. And here it is in all of its glory. And the ball seems to be made of rubber.
Yeah, it's more like a bouncy ball than a pinball. I've never seen pinball physics like this.
Yeah, this game... Wow. Let's just see how long this goes.
Oh, this is kind of entertaining.
I think we broke the game.
I think we did. Beep, boop, boop, boop.
Well,
just let it go.
Yeah, we'll talk about it here a little bit. It really doesn't have very good pinball physics, and it doesn't really appear or seem much like a pinball game that I've played, except that it has flippers.
NES pinball was fun. I remember a few pinball games through the years that were actually pretty decent.
Well, we'll get to them, but on the Atari...
Now, on the Atari, I guess this was the best representation of video pinball they could do at the time. I think Coleco made one that was, I think, better. I'll have to check through the libraries here, but one of the other competing consoles made a killer pinball game.
Oh.
I mean, that system sure played a mean pinball. That was an obscure song reference if you didn't catch
To
it.
the Who.
That's right.
We're gonna
Wow,
do some throwbacks.
that's some horrible physics, I have to admit.
Yeah, it just kind of goes.
Kind of
whatever.
does its own thing. This was a game you basically got drunk and played. If, you know, people did that back then. I'm sure they did, because people do that now. I mean,
What else do people do?
I don't know. What did people do back in the day? What?
They got drunk and got pussy.
While they were playing Atari?
No.
I guess
that was
Atari was kind of like a family
That
console.
was what they did in between.
Yeah.
I really don't know about the family thing, though. I really don't imagine many dads really giving a shit. You know? Most aren't going to sit there and watch their kid engage in these activities that they really couldn't care about.
Well, see, that was before the NES era when it really went to the kids. Like, back then, there were all kinds of adults inside the arcades. It's kind of weird how it all worked. It started out as family, and then it just changed to kind of just this kids-only thing when Nintendo showed back up on the market, and everyone was thinking of games still as a toy. Because the earliest systems tried to sell themselves as computers as well, so you could do everything on them. Kind of like today's machines do.
Yeah, it seemed like during the late 80s and 90s, they kind of went away from that.
And made everything basically just a game machine.
But, yeah, I mean...
Well, that was enough of pinball. Let's try out something else. I mean, I've got some of these titles. I did get some third-party stuff here, so we'll tear through those here in a bit. Those were later titles. Because I also have some titles that came out after the system's death when it was being pushed as a kind of a retro console. And when it was pushed as a retro console, they actually produced some new games for it. Well, I don't know how new they were. They were more like stuff that they weren't able to sell after the crash. So they repackaged it with the Junior and pushed it out that way, you know, even with the compatibility with the 7800. Because Atari actually made one of the first backwards compatible consoles with the 7200. Or the 7800, 7200. What the hell am I saying? 7800. I'd love to get one of those up and working. That would be nice. Because those 7800 cartridges were half decent games. Like, there was a port of Robotron on that, which worked really well. Remember Robotron 2084?
Nope.
The one where you shoot all the robots. It had the multi-directional thing. It was a Midway game. I'll have to show you that one. They have it on the Live Arcade.
I don't know.
It's probably in the book, too. Now notice that there was really no color change in difference there. This was an absolutely horrid game. Mainly due to the fact that it was programmed so badly that you couldn't tell the difference between what was a ghost and what was it. They almost look like shadows that are glitching. I mean, it was abysmal.
Yeah.
This was one of the ones that drove people away. This was one of the ones that killed the industry.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, if you'd never played PacMan before, it would be pretty decent, but, you know, if you'd played the arcade game, you can tell the obvious downgrade.
PacMan being one of the most popular games of all time at that point. Most
Yeah.
people that wanted the game had played it.
Yeah, not many people were buying it and trying it for the first time on the Atari 2600.
Everyone, and one of the most infamous statements came from this game too. They made more copies of Pac-Man than there were systems made, because they made the comment that people would want to play it on their boat. If that doesn't tell you that Atari was slightly out of touch with their consumer base, I think that would pretty much cover it right
I
there.
should have finished the level.
I tried to. The stupid thing, I glitched, killed it. He killed me. Yeah, but this game's known for one of the most infamous quotes in history, where they said that people would buy it for their boathouse. And it's also known as the proprietor of the statement
Well,
that...
what do you mean, Ray? I've got 3 of them for my boathouse.
I got 3 of them too, but I think I paid 10 cents a piece for them. Not $50 a pop. This is also the one that gave us the statement that we can put shit in a cartridge statement, and people will buy it. Congratulations, this is the crap that they put in the cartridge.
And you're still playing it.
That's because I'm not bad at it. My grandma had this game back in the day. I don't know. I just wanted to get my rant out before I finished it. And the sound effects are horrible, too.
Yeah. Yeah, not quite the bumping beats of the arcade original.
It's kind of more like a grinding.
So that's how they did it.
Yeah, I'm just going to kill him.
So there's Pac-Man.
Yeah, there's Pac-Man. We're sorry we had to subject you to that one, but we couldn't do it without not having this game on here. And now for something good. This is Yars Revenge. The main idea here is you pick away at the wall, and you try not to get hit by the attacking spiral of death. And you want to avoid the little minus dot that's constantly chasing you and trying to kill you. Now this is a safe zone from the minus dot, but as you can see, the spinning spiral of doom will kill you if you're in the safe zone. There are 2 ways to get your little firing device on this side here. You could chew away at this and get a clean shot at him while he's sitting, or you can try to get double the points and hit him in motion. Sometimes that's easier said than done because he can be rather tricky. So sometimes it's a little bit of wait and see. Sucker in the minus dot to that side. Try to get him to come straight at you and fire. And I missed. God damn it. Or you can just shoot him from where he's at. But he's constantly moving up and down. There's a lot of challenge to this game, if you can't tell.
Now, who or what was Yar?
Yars, I never really read the book on that one. All I know is this was a pick up and play game.
Well, you gotta read the manual, Ray.
However, Atari lore tells us that this was a game that was fashioned after Ray Kassar left the company, and it was sold over to Jack Tramiel. This game is to symbolize Ray Kassar's revenge, or it's also taken into another story that it was basically his battle with the programmers. So there's all kinds of lore behind this game. As to what story you want to believe, it's kind of up to you.
Such as Kassar routinely refusing to allow developers' names to be published with their games.
Yeah, hence why you never see credits in an Atari game, just a blinking screen. It's not that they couldn't handle it, because apparently there were ones in other consoles.
Or even changing their names when speaking about them to the press. I mean, they were total dicks to the creative people that helped create these games. Atari wanted Atari to appear on their products because they felt they were releasing products, not creative pieces of artwork.
Now, something about Kassar was he was one of the heads of Warner Communications. who bought Atari back in '77 because of the 2600. See, the 2600 was constantly a catch-22 because if it wasn't for Warner, the 2600 wouldn't have existed. But if it wasn't for the 2600, Atari may have been more of a company for gamers and continued to create, great things and not just product, as he put it.
But we may not have seen an industry.
Exactly.
That, so
it was one of those catch-22s where they needed the capital.
They had to fuck it up in order to move things forward.
Exactly. And
I threw in, I think, our first curse. We were doing real good up to here.
I might have cursed once during the...
Yeah, I think you had some Tourette's going on earlier, so...
It was during one of them. There was some game that lit me up.
But here's some more stuff about Kassar. He could never integrate smoothly with the engineers, says Chris Crawford, a pioneer game designer who worked for Atari for several years. There was always a war going on, which was stupid, wasteful, and destroyed morale.
Well, another thing
yeah,
was that Kassar originally had worked in textiles before coming over to Atari. And he was used to dealing with, workers, like blue-collar workers, where he could just kind of push his will around. And now, since he was working inside of kind of a corporate environment, he wasn't used to dealing with artistic talent, is what it was known as.
So basically, he was a dick.
Basically. He couldn't handle, having to actually speak to people with respect, is what it came down to. He was used to just being the asshole boss. Speaking of the asshole boss...
Yeah, I think it is fitting that we're talking about him in this, because obviously Yars Revenge is a play on his name, and I think that's very clever. And now, who did you say did this one?
This was Howard Scott Warsaw.
Okay.
The guy that did E.T. So, that guy was not untalented. It was basically, you have 6 weeks to make E.T. Oh, Ray's getting pretty evil at me there. I got to strike him down. Ha! Ooh. Okay, I have to kill him one more time, and then we'll move on. Because this one had so much lore into it that I didn't want to do too much, but, I wanted to get the whole story out there. Ha! Alright, let's move on to another Atari project.
You're a starship captain in an asteroid field. Blast the with your lasers, so put up your shield. Have a missile commander defending your city. If you're not quick enough, they'll show no pity. The invaders won't stop us from the sky they drop.
3 out-of-this-world games from Atari, the #1 video computer system with more games than any other.
Everyone's gone Atari. The #1 video game.
Sorry, Anonymous. My son Boris has a missile command problem.
My mission in life is to save all of mankind.
Lately, my daughter has developed a similar problem with Atari warnings. Now, with video pinball, my husband is acting funny lately. With Atari games so ingenious, so involving, so intense, I ask you, Atari Anonymous, is this problem contagious?
Drop Atari PacMan into your Atari video computer system and you're playing the hottest game since Space Invaders, Atari PacMan. I got PacMan fever. It's driving me crazy. I said PacMan fever.
Computers 101, where you'll be learning from experts on the subject. From me, Professor Von Busch, and the Atari Video Computer System, 13984 at Toys R Us. Now, should you pass this course, we'll go on to these Atari game cartridges, 1887 to 3697 at Toys R Us. Helmut, I hope you've been paying attention, because I'm going to give a pop quiz later. Could I have some of your seeds?
Only Atari makes the world's most popular home video games. The only Space Invaders. The only Asteroids. The only PacMan. The only Missile Command. And soon, the only Defender. And the only way you can play any of them is on a home video system made by Atari.
Have you played Atari today?
Neptune challenges you to Seaquest by Activision. With the Atari 2600, behold, Seaquest. Your submarine must help stranded divers escape hungry sharks. Foolish mortals. Check your air supply and beware. Evil pirates abound. I think I hear your tiny divers calling out to you. Help. Help. Seaquest. Steve Cartwright does it again for Activision.
Atari introduces the Woman of the Year, Ms. Pac-Man. With a style of entertainment that Pac-Man never knew, an endless supply of floating goodies, oranges, pretzels, 4 different screens, each with different exits and entrances, and the green screen so difficult to reach, you may never see it again.
Don't you know I'm more than Pac-Man with a bow?
Reach for Ms. Pac-Man.
Reach for Atari.
Now I'm going to jump over and do some third-party stuff here in a moment or two, but I have to give a quick little show to E.T. here. I know we've done a retro review on this, but you kind of can't do an Atari 2600 thing without covering this game.
It's famous for being so bad.
Yeah, I know. It's just one of those titles where you don't really know what to do. I mean, it did map it out to you. I mean, what you're supposed to do, but
You know, and it had potential. You know, you have a map, you have some different areas you can explore. For this time, that's really novel, being able to kind of explore your world there, but there really wasn't much to explore. You know, you just randomly fall in holes.
I think if this title was given, oh, I don't know, maybe 6 more weeks, it might have been a great game.
Yeah, you know, I think they really blew their wad because E.T. was so big at the time, and all they saw was the opportunity to create the game for it, and
It
obviously used nothing with the license. You know, they did. It's E.T.
They
just
just
like in the movie.
They just wanted cash.
They just wanted cash, and it set a bad standard for movie-based games for years and years to come. And, you know, not all licensed games were bad on the Atari. Some of the Star Wars titles were at least half decent, but
I would have won the game there had they not just screwed me.
yeah, they like to randomly screw you in this. It's so buggy and so glitchy. You'll be standing there in warp. I'm not sure if that's supposed to happen or not. It's very, very rough. And we did a proper poning of this game in a previous Ray's Retro review. So if you want to see,
Yeah, if you want more on this,
if you want to see more of us making fun of this gay game,
go
check
ahead
it
and
out.
check out that retro review. Now I'm gonna switch gears here and pop in something else.
Yeah, you've seen all there is to see.
This is Defender. It was ported, Atari ported it over from the hit arcade game from Midway Williams. Midway. I guess they're owned by Midway now. Bally, whichever one floats your boat is their name.
Yes, whichever's still on top.
Now this one was known for its difficulty. Now you're supposed to pick up the people here, but I don't see how you do it. I don't think we have a manual on this. We're just gonna kind of fly through and shoot things.
That's the way.
Because I remember how you do it in the arcade version. It's just I don't have the extra button. Oh, I could have picked up that little dot there. Apparently that's a change of level.
You know, I think they could have done better with a lot of these games if they would have had some text thrown onto the screen once in a while to explain what the fuck's going on. Too many of these games are just something flashes and you're supposed to know that that means something else happened.
Yeah, it's...
you know, I know they didn't have many resources to work with, but, you know, a little screen that says, good job, next level would have really...
Well, that's where Coleco and Intellivision really shined on that.
I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that Atari didn't have George Plimpton, which we've discussed before as really being the thing that held them back from total dominance. What was it? The Intellivision had Plimpton.
Yeah, the Intellivision had Plimpton, and he was their spokesperson.
And when you've got class like that selling your game console, you know, the sky's the limit, which of course they never reached that limit, but the potential is still there, I think.
I have smart bombs. Unfortunately, I don't know how to use them. That was a splat.
Now, interesting there, as you see, he can go multi-directional. That was a kind of a novel thing for this time.
Yeah, a lot of games just forced you one way.
Yeah, and you know, once you were past something, it was gone. So that, you know, that was kind of an interesting thing with that.
Now this one is Frogger. This one's actually the first third-party effort that I'm putting in here. This one was done by Parker Brothers, who ported it to just about every console known to man in those days.
Not done by Parker Brothers.
The original game was done by Konami.
Yeah, so
but Parker Brothers was the one that was responsible for porting it to everything.
Yeah, so this was a huge early Konami game.
Now, I'd say this game code itself was done by Parker Brothers. They did the ports.
Yeah, but the game design and, you know, original concept was Konami.
Right. Just like a lot of the early Japanese games were ported over by American companies to the earlier game consoles because they didn't get into making the cartridges themselves at that point. They just made the arcade originals.
Yeah, a lot of these companies didn't see any need to focus on the home market.
And a lot of them, like the first Japanese console that was made was the Famicom and the SG-1000 from Sega, which we would later know as the Master System. It was reworked a little bit and came over as the Sega Master System. So its lineage actually stretches back to the first generation of consoles. As does the Famicom, because there's a neat little story there that I'd like to cover with Atari actually had the rights to Nintendo to produce Nintendo's NES console. And,
yeah, they had the opportunity to market and sell the Famicom in the United States.
And they blew it. Because they wanted to focus on the computer line. because it was bought by the Tramuels at the time. Kassar had built the contract for it, and then Tramuel got out of it because he was wanting to go his computer route. So we all see where that went. Let's see, the original Atari was sold, and the Tramuels are no longer in business, I believe, because they ran Commodore into the ground later on. Surprisingly, trying to make a video game console. How about that for irony?
So, this is Frogger. This is a great early game. It was way different than a lot of titles out there because you're a frog. That's different.
Yeah, a little bit different. It's not space death.
Yeah. So you travel across the freeway with the different cars going at different speeds and try not to get splatted and try and get across the logs and the lily pads and make it to the other side.
Oh, this was a great game back in the day.
It's a great game. It's a great feel-good story. You can't not like Frogger, I don't think.
No, it's got that appeal to it where it's always going to be fun.
Yeah, it's one of those games that, they can release in these collections and virtual console downloads and whatever, and people will buy it up time and time again because it still holds true. And this wasn't a bad port. This is pretty faithful to the original, at least in design, whereas, something like PacMan that we looked at really failed in a lot of ways,
of capturing the feel of the original.
Yeah, and it's not graphics, it's the gameplay, and this is one that holds up in the gameplay area, and you still feel like you're playing the same game.
Yeah, with Frogger they actually did make it just like the original. They might have changed the graphics, but they definitely, kept the difficulty and everything. So, as you keep going, things do get faster and more difficult. As you can see, this freeway is getting rather treacherous. Oh! Usually die in the other versions.
Yeah, wow. I wonder if that's the only version that happens.
I don't know, but I'm going to keep doing that.
Yeah, any version of Frogger I've ever played, when you hit the end of the screen, you're dead. So if anything, this is maybe the easier version. Well, we just learned something new. Take that one home with you, folks.
That was awesome. Here I am trying to actually do that. I could have just went around.
Yeah, that actually makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, a ton easier. Jeez. Let's see if that works again.
Now, I wonder if that's something that, like, they could even maybe have that on, like, the difficulty setting. I don't know.
Oh, maybe. I didn't mess with the switches. Well, now we got the snake, so we're definitely screwed now. Because there's no logs. Oh, yep.
Oh.
Oh! It looks like a little Xbox symbol when he dies.
A little bit.
He's like... Alright, well that was good. Third parties really brought a lot to the table for the 2600.
Yeah, despite Atari's resistance towards letting other people produce software for it, they make great stuff. Such as Demon Attack.
Demon Attack, it was an iMagic game that Atari actually sued iMagic for because they said it was similar to their game called Phoenix. Personally, I've never seen Phoenix, but I have seen Demon Attack. So it kind of makes me wonder, did these games really exist? I mean, I've never...
They're Phantom Game.
I've never seen it, like, anywhere.
No, I've never heard of it personally, but maybe that's one we can look up later on to try and get a hold of and see what these similarities are that Atari claimed.
Well, that one's kind of tricky. Well, iMagic was also known for, they did a lot of games for Intellivision. So a lot of... You'll notice that a lot of iMagic games seem to have a little bit better graphics than some of the other ones. And iMagic was actually one of the better third-party developers for the Intellivision. They actually made, I believe it was Atlantis? I think that was the name of the title.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, they were a pretty good early third-party developer.
Yeah, and that was...
Them and Activision really stepped up their game. Oh, come on. That's just cheap. That one bottom one just keeps blasting me like as soon as I spawn. Now, if you leave them go for too long, they will fly towards you. There we go.
Yeah, and so, you know, again, iMagic had a very similar story to Activision in that it was started from some Atari offshoot employees who were tired of being pushed around and not getting credit for their work, so they went out on their own. And you see, you know, the effect that the parent company had. They, you know, release a game, they sue them for stealing the design of Phoenix, you know.
Which they were probably working on was actually their intellectual property, but since Atari had such a lock on things back in the day, that they couldn't really fight that. They probably sued them for even using the hardware.
Yeah, we're gonna have to find out on that, because I'm curious now.
Well, there was a negative result of the third-party wars with Atari, is once the copyright was given up and they said that they could make third-party games for it, we ended up with a lot of shovelware, which was another proponent of the crash. When the shovelware's... It needs fixed a little bit. It went out on us. The shovelware not just came from Atari, but also came from other companies as well. And then you had everyone that, you know, had even access to the technology making a game for it. That's when you see stuff like Kool-Aid Man and Chuck Wagon Gang and tons of other turd titles, like Wizard Videos stuff like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Custer's Revenge. Even after mentioning Custer's Revenge, I can still play Seaquest. Seaquest was an early Activision game that was really good. Wow, I'm out of practice. Now the main idea here is you have to collect the divers, and you get points for all the divers, and you want to shoot the fish in the other ships. But you don't want to run out of air. You want to make sure you have at least one diver before you go up, because it takes at least one diver to get a refill of air. So if you don't have at least one diver, if you go to the top, you die. Or if you touch the fish like that. But Activision was well known for making some of the best games for the Atari 2600. They created Pitfall for it, River Raid, which we're going to take a look at here real quick, Seaquest, Kaboom, tons of other titles. There was Barnstormer, Decathlon. They made Enduro too, I believe. And I believe they made a boxing title as well.
Alright, I looked up some information on Phoenix there, and Demon Attack does look very similar, and the gameplay mechanics were similar. So, I guess Atari had a suit, and apparently iMagic felt that it was strong enough that they did settle out of court over it. So we may never know the full story on that.
Did Phoenix ever release?
Yeah, oh yeah, it was released. It was ported by into several places. It was in it was in the arcades. It was ported to the 2600, and Taito got rights to publish it in Japan. And it said that they still own the rights, and released it in the Taito Legends package, which, as we talked about earlier, Square Enix now owns Taito.
Oh.
So I guess Square Enix now owns Phoenix.
That is strange. That's some strange lineage right there.
Yeah, that's what happens when stuff gets passed around over 30 years.
Well, especially when Atari goes under like that.
Yeah.
When game companies fold, strange things happen to the rights.
Now this game is, as far as fluidity, has to be one of the better playing Atari games. Activision had just such a higher quality for their games because they focused on that. You know, they set themselves to be a creative company, and you can just see it. I mean, this game plays very fluidly. It's very fun. It doesn't have a point, you know. It doesn't need to.
Well, I was just going on about how the Activision games just held a higher standard.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why they started the company. They knew they could do better. And you saw the result of it once they got a chance, and once the developers got empowered with their own company, they made some of the best stuff.
I kind of snuck right through there. And there's pretty decent AI on this game too. The stuff's pretty smart for being an Atari game. It has a set pattern, but they'll throw things at you at just the right pattern to mess you up. Like those ships down at the bottom going the opposite direction. But yeah, there's... Or that freaking ship! Yeah, he just sped right towards me. But that's one of the Activision classics. And I'm going to throw another one in here for you. This is River Raid. River Raid's a rather simple game. Pretty much fly forward and shoot everything in your way.
Much like many games at the time. But this adds another level of depth where you've got to continue getting fuel as you go, because if you don't, you will run out of fuel and die.
See, that's one thing that Activision really brought to the table, is they added that one little extra thing to make the game more interesting.
Yep, just like Seaquest that we just looked at, having to get
the divers.
Yeah, your divers, and having to get your air filled back up. So it wasn't just the same gameplay mechanics till your score flipped or you died. You know, there is a little bit of variety within what you're doing. And
that's why Activision games still stand the test of time today. If you hear people playing a lot of Atari games, they're most likely going to be Activision games. Because those were what made the system awesome, was the creativity that Activision put into their titles.
We see which company's still around.
Yeah. Even, well, with Atari taking all those losses lately.
Atari's around, but they're
not really Atari. They're Infogrames.
It's a name, yeah. And the name has not done Infogrames very well. So there's River Raid.
It's challenging. I will admit, even after all these years, it's challenging.
See, that one predates Seaquest. It was 82. Seaquest was 83. So, I mean, they just, for those couple years, they strung out a ton of great titles.
Now, that leads us kind of to the crash. I mean, this was the point where everything just kind of fell apart. I mean, too much crap was on the market. Too many ET-like games were being produced.
Now, here's some not crap.
This actually was post-dating the crash. It was originally set for 83, and there might have been a limited release, but this version that I have right here was for the Atari 2600 Junior release. So this actually came out in 88. which they were trying to push these games to a new audience, basically the NES audience. And they did a fairly good job with some of these. I mean, especially given it as a budget console. But Q*bert always...
Q*bert's great.
Yeah, Q*bert was a fun puzzle game. You want to try this? I suck at this game.
No, that's okay. Now,
Yes.
Did Atari create Q*bert, or who created Q*bert? I see on the cartridge there, it says Parker Brothers did the publishing.
I truthfully can't remember. Actually, I think Sony owns the rights to that now. I don't know who had it back in the day, but maybe Atari created it. It was an arcade game, but I cannot remember for the life of me who created it. We're gonna search this. Because we want to have this information. Did I get a double death? So you really had to angle your shots here. You went the wrong direction, just slightly. You'd fall off the edge. And sometimes these 2600 controllers were kind of the bane of this game. So who created Q*bert?
Okay, this is Ron back again, and we have found out that Q*bert was created by Gottlieb, I'm going to say Gottlieb.
The Pinball Company?
The Pinball Company that I've never heard of. Started in 1927, and they went through a whole slew of shit where Columbia Pictures bought them. Columbia Pictures was bought by Coca-Cola, and one of these type of deals. But this was one of the few video game gems that came out of that company. So
that's just strange.
That's a strange game. So
okay,
what other game has an asterisk in the name?
That's true.
Or
now,
a Q for that matter.
I've got one more look through here is Miss Pac-Man. This game was designed to kind of fix the original Pac-Man woes. Unfortunately for the title, it was a little late. And it really couldn't recover from the original Pac-Man. Now notice, this game, while still having the glitchy ghosts, runs a lot smoother.
The sound is about 100 times better as well.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like nails scraping on a chalkboard. And notice the ghosts turn distinctly blue.
Yes, they don't look like they're having some sort of otherworldly problem going on.
Yeah, they're not just fading in and out. They're actually kind of have some substance.
And it runs a lot faster and a lot smoother.
Yeah, this game actually feels a lot closer to the arcade port, or the arcade version, than the previous version did. And the scoring is a little more realistic too. You don't get like 5 points for eating a ghost. Now we'll just kind of hang out and wait for him to show up here. There we go. Don't eat that last one and just bump up your score. Now see, the maze doesn't change until you get to the later levels. And actually, this game was reverse designed. I can't remember the story, 100% for sure on this one, but I believe that it was done by some students who wanted to work with the original Pac-Man game and created Miss Pac-Man. That might be the arcade version. It's been a while since I've looked at the story. See, I know a lot of video game lore. It's just quoting my sources, remembering where I saw the lore at. Guess that's what makes it legend and lore.
Yes, because after a while you just make it up.
Well, that wasn't a made-up story. That's, something I heard back in the day.
So it's lore.
Yeah. Actually, it's in a book that's out of print nowadays. It's called the First Quarter. I know where I found the source. I just need to find that damn book again.
So someone look that up and
yeah, if you can find me a copy of that book, I will pay you. Because I can't find it anywhere, and I want it. It came out, it was chronicling the first 25 years of the game industry. So that would have been, I'd say 99 when it came out, I think. Sounds about right. Would be the 25th anniversary of games from 72.
When?
I'd say from 72.
Yeah, it'd be around that time.
Okay. Well, that was Miss Pac-Man. And that's pretty much our little take on the games library of what the 2600 had to offer. And I hope you liked our insightful information on the stuff, even our little bits of video game lore that we're not sure on sources on, but trust me, it's legitimate somewhere.
And that's how you create new lore.
Yes.
So even if it isn't, we're going to stand by it, because Ray is pretty sure. And that's all we need.
There is truth to it out there. It's just I need a source. So, when I get my source, I will verify that.
Or I could Wikipedia it, and they probably have it on there.
That's true. Could do creation of Miss Pac-Man.
So,
that's
the Atari 2600 that I've heard so much about.
Yes. Now, go out, buy one on, try to find one. I don't know.
Buy one from shop.newgengamers.com. We don't have one for sale currently, but we may by the time you watch this.
I can advertise it. It just whether it's there or not. But look.
So this is Console Wars of the Past Part 1.
Part 1, Atari 2600 edition.
And we will follow up with the Intellivision and ColecoVision when we get a chance to get those systems and get a good look at all the stuff they have for them. And we'll also do this with all the other consoles because people need to know.
Yeah,
I'm sure anyone that watches this could have learned a few things, had a laugh or two, and just seen what this thing is all about.
And that's the whole point of this, showing everyone what these are about. So, don't forget your history, otherwise you're doomed to repeat it.
And this is tied in with a written series of articles that Ray has, also titled Console Wars of the Past.
And we have podcasts on the subject.
We have podcasts. There are dozens of hours of entertainment that NewGenGamers.com has brought you in the past and will bring you in the future. So stick with us, and we'll show you some other cool stuff.
We've devoted a lot of time to this. Check it out.
We don't have lives, so...
Yeah.
Well, we do, but...
Yeah, we do. They kind of get in the way.
We spend our time doing this for the betterment of humanity in some way.
Or just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, okay.
Alright, so check it out, and like I said, remember your history or you're doomed to repeat it.
And?
Oh, no, that's the new catchphrase.
Oh.
I've got a new catchphrase. It's born tonight.
Okay.
Remember your history or you're doomed to repeat it.
アメリカ中のテレビをコンピューターゲームに変えた当たりがやってきた。ゲームの数が違う、興奮が違う。世界のコンピューターゲーム。